Give it up for Matt Emmer, everybody. Coming up to the stage next, we've got Brian Zudeck.
Good evening, friends. Back a little bit for this. How about Matt Emmer, huh? So I was here a couple months ago. And Matt stole the show. And this morning I opened my email and I had the email from Abby. The email from Abby that had the order of artists tonight, and I'm following Matt. I was like, oh, great. So it's all downhill from here, friends. Let me plug my axe in here. I'm playing a Martin tonight. I was going to play a Gibson, but then I would have had to change my hat. How's that, Max? Yeah? Do you all agree, or is Max pulling my leg? This year I entered the NPR Tiny Desk contest. Really cool to be part of that community. Thousands of people entered, great stuff from all over the spectrum. And I don't know if you follow it, but the woman who won, it wasn't me, the woman who won, Elisa Amador, I think she's a Passim alumnus, if I'm not mistaken, was just absolutely deserved it. I mean, so great. So I'm not mad at her at all. So I wrote this song about a railroad accident that happened in 1911 in upstate New York. A passenger train on the Lehigh Valley line was traveling from Buffalo to Philadelphia. They were going over a bridge over a body of water called the Canandaigua Outlet when one of the rails shattered because of a manufacturing defect, and some of the cars derailed, went over the side of the bridge and plummeted 60 feet into the riverbed below, and 29 people were killed. I learned about this incident while I was researching my family tree because, unbeknownst to me, my great-grandmother, Barbara Zudeck, was one of the 29 people who was killed in that train crash. And I don't even think my dad knew about it. I had never heard anything about this until I was going through old newspapers online, and she was all over the headlines in Buffalo. I think she was the only Buffalo passenger who was killed. She was traveling from Buffalo on her way to Baltimore with her daughter Christine, my great aunt. And Christine was thrown to the front of the train, the front of the car. She had a broken rib and was buried under a bunch of rubble, so she couldn't speak. Barbara had a head injury, and this was on the front page of every paper in the country. And witnesses, other passengers in the car, said that Barbara's last words were calling out for Christine and asking if she was okay. And of course, Christine couldn't respond. So these witnesses speculated that Barbara passed away as much from the grief of believing that her daughter had been killed as she did from the head injury. The song is called Christine, or Lehigh Valley Line. At the Buffalo station, Philadelphia Express, stood the prettiest young lady in her very finest dress. Christine and her mother never rode a train before. They were off to see her brother in the town of Baltimore. Christine, can you hear me? Christine, please say you're fine. Christine, your mama's calling. All aboard the Lehigh Valley line. That Lehigh Valley engine shone as brightly as a star, with two big Pullman sleepers and a brand new dining car. They barreled into Rochester, arrived in record time, picked up 57 passengers and headed down the line. Christine, can you hear me? Christine, please say you're fine. Christine, your mama's calling. All aboard the Lehigh Valley line. The Canandaigua outlet isn't much more than a creek, and the bridge that runs across it was inspected just last week. But it only took one faulty rail to bring that engine down, and it seemed just like forever until they hit the ground. Christine, can you hear me? Christine, please say you're fine. Christine, your mama's calling. All aboard the Lehigh Valley line. The only people there who had seen that much death before was a gray-haired group of veterans who'd been in the Civil War. They came upon a weeping girl of 26 or 7. She seemed like she had lost her mind. She said, Mama's gone to heaven. Christine, can you hear me? Christine, please say you're fine. Christine, your mama's calling. All aboard the Lehigh Valley line. All aboard the Lehigh Valley line. All aboard the Lehigh Valley line. Thank you. Thank you. I probably should have mentioned that that was the song that I entered in the Tiny Desk contest. This next one, so when I was here a couple of months ago, Abby will bear witness. When I was here a couple of months ago, I played this song and I totally trashed it. So being a get back on the horse kind of guy, I'm gonna do it again tonight. Back when I was a younger man and all my peers, or many of my peers, went off to college, I took off and went down to deep South Louisiana to the Gulf of Mexico and worked on oil field supply boats offshore for about 5 years. An oil field supply boat kind of looks like a pickup truck. The superstructure's all up forward, and there's a big flat back deck where they can load cargo generators and welding equipment and whatnot. And we'd go into port every 2 weeks and then back out to the field, which was about 70, 75 miles offshore. And we'd go over to the rig when they needed drinking water. We would pump them fresh water from our storage tanks. When they needed diesel fuel, we'd pump them fuel, for their generators and whatnot. It was a really adventurous life for a young man. And they would call us on the radio when they needed us. We'd had a buoy that we'd hang off of. And, we'd have to get over there pretty quick after they called. So every skipper I ever worked for, when it was time to fire up the engines, would yell, "Fire 'em up!" And that's the name of the song, Fire 'em Up. I'm going to ask you, if you're willing, to help me out here. And every time I say, "Fire 'em up," you say, "Fire 'em up." All right? Way down south in Louisiana, on the Gulf of Mexico, I was a deckhand on an oil field boat trying to make a little dough. I was just a kid from Boston and I really didn't know. Thought I'd be there for a month or two, but the Gulf wouldn't let me go. "Fire 'em up," yelled the captain. "Fire 'em up," cried the engineer. 'Cause the rig needs drinking water, thinking about the skipper's daughter, hoping she'll be waiting for us at the pier. Well, the Gulf, she can be wicked, and the Gulf, she can be cruel. When I said I was going to work down there, they all called me a fool. But the work was hard and honest, and I made a lot of cash. And I blew it all on Bourbon Street, where they called me oil field trash. "Fire 'em up," yelled the captain. "Fire 'em up," cried the engineer. 'Cause the rig needs drinking water, thinking about the skipper's daughter, hoping she'll be waiting for us at the pier. Well, an oil field boat ain't nothing but 100 tons of steel, 2 Caterpillar diesels and a fool behind the wheel. There's that old familiar sound, that Motorola radio. It's the field foreman a-calling, saying, "Skip, it's time to go." "Fire 'em up," yelled the captain. "Fire 'em up," cried the engineer. 'Cause the rig needs drinking water, thinking about the skipper's daughter, hoping she'll be waiting for us at the pier. Every 2 weeks we'd head into port and take on food and fuel. At Maxie Pierce's grocery, where the beers are nice and cool. There's no drinking on the boat, they said, and we said that's just fine. We'd buy lots of canned pie filling, brewers, yeast for making wine. "Fire 'em up," yelled the captain. "Fire 'em up," cried the engineer. 'Cause the rig needs drinking water, thinking about the skipper's daughter, hoping she'll be waiting for us at the pier. Hoping she'll be waiting for me at the pier. Thank you very much. Thank you. You ready, Max?
Brian Zudeck, everybody. We've got Carly Laura Mahawald coming up next. After that, Mark Zellemeyer and Jared Blake.